Ada from the Chatbot team, and in this video I am going to show you how you can build and test a lead generation chatbot without coding. If you've never heard of Chatbot, it's a no-code platform that lets you easily build AI chatbots on multiple communication channels. The platform offers a 14-day free trial during which you can test it out with no strings attached. So to show you how Chatbot works, I've already created and launched a lead generation bot on a demo page that we'll now test. And I've added the link to this website below the video so you can test it out on your own later. So let's see how it works. At the bottom of the page, you can see a chatbot greeting that turns into a chat widget after clicking. And furthermore, you can see that the first message appeared. In this case, we only get one button that we can choose from, but you can modify it in a way that you want. So let's go through this story. All right, let's get started. My name is Ada. And my business email is business@business.com. And my company name is business as well. Okay, let's move forward. How big is my team? My team is just me right now. All right, and the last question from the bot is what we'd like to achieve. And my message is just message. And that's it. Mission accomplished. We've chatted with the bot. The lead was generated. We can start the chat again, but we don't want to do that right now. So we've learned how the chatbot works, looks, and functions, and how it can help to generate leads on your website. So now it's time to see how we can build one. All right, so go to chatbot.com and log in if you already have an active chatbot account. If not, create a new one. You can also select a sign up with Google, Live Chat, Facebook, or Microsoft, so you can link a particular account to Chatbot and use one password. So after you sign up, you can see the dashboard, the main dashboard where you can see your chatbot journey. Here you can build your new chatbot and access stories that have already been created. And below you can find the Academy lessons that can help you get started with the building process. At the bottom, there is templates. And in Chatbot, a template is a ready-made chatbot scenario that you can import and customize to your needs. Templates facilitate the building process and let you connect with your users faster. So let's import a lead generation chatbot. Let's click on Import Bot, Import Story, and let's go confirm and go to the story. So here you can see a pre-made lead generation story. You can edit it and develop the way that you want so that it appeals to your target audience. However, in this video, we're going to build a lead generation chatbot from scratch, so we won't work on this template now. So let's go back to the main dashboard. So imagine that your company is organizing an online conference and you want to use a chatbot to collect registrations. Let's see how the chatbot builder can let us do that with available features. So click on Create Bot and name your story. You can change the name and the description at any time. Let's call it Conference Bot and click on Create. Here you can see the dashboard of Chatbot and some default blocks. Let's start from the beginning. So the start point block, it shows where your story begins. It's a trigger point and it can't be edited. You can add any action or interaction to this block to kickstart the conversation. But by default, we've also added a bot response to every new story and it functions as a welcome message. You can edit it the way you want. So if you click on it, you will see 6 types of responses that you can choose from. So first one is text. It lets you display a plain text message. The second one is random text. So this response lets you create a few different messages that will be randomly sent to users. This way, when a user connects with your chatbot more than once, the bot can welcome them differently, which makes their experience more natural. Next one is image, which is pretty self-explanatory. Next one is gallery, or otherwise called a carousel, and that lets you show your products or services as a gallery of cards with action buttons. The next one is a button, and that lets users choose one of the available options, but we'll get into that a little bit later. And the last one is a quick reply, which allows you to create instant replies that can be selected by users. Quick replies are convenient, for example, for meeting, scheduling, or collecting surveys. Now let's edit our welcome message. Add an image response. That will help us attract the user's attention. Then click on the add response and choose an appropriate picture. Now we'll add a quick reply. It will let the user easily jump to the next interaction. So write some text here and name the buttons. We'll want to ask whether the user wants to join our conference. So click on the button. We'll want this button to be able to lead us to join the conference. So let's do yes, sign me up. In the button type, we have two options. We can either send a message or go to a block. Send message type makes the user send a message when they click on the button. So in this case, when the user will choose to click the yes, sign me up button, an automatic message will be sent for them. We'll want to choose this one in this case. Okay, let's save that. And let's add another button. In this one, we'll just say, no thanks, because we don't want to sign up for the conference. The button type stays the same. Let's save the settings and let's save the block. Now it's the user's turn. We'll want to drag the user input block to the bot response. In this block, you need to define what types of user messages will trigger the bot response that follows. You can do it in the keywords or user says section. So in keywords, the matching system that searches only for specific keywords in the user input, and it ignores the rest of the query. So when it finds them, it triggers a dedicated bot response. So for example, you can use keywords to make your chatbot display a current weather forecast whenever the user writes weather on chat. But sometimes keywords are not enough and your chatbot needs more context to understand the user's intent. For example, the user writes the word weather, but the bot can't verify whether the user wants to check today's weather forecast or a 2-week forecast. It needs extra information to know that. In such a case, use user says. So user says is a chatbot's matching system that lets you write down hypothetical queries that user might write at a given point in the story. When the system identifies one of these queries or something similar to them, it triggers the bot response that follows. So to set up user says, fill in the text fields with all the possible phrases that your users might write in chat. Use various synonyms, grammatical structures, and forms to cover the most popular queries. And don't worry about misspelled words. Chatbot will match the user's input with the proper bot reply, even when the user makes a mistake. So let's say, yes, sign me up, or I want to join the conference. And in some keywords, you can just say sign up, join, yes, whatever you want. So if the user decides not to click on the button, but to write a query, we are covered and the bot will still respond in a proper way. When you're ready, name this interaction and save your changes. Or just name this one yes. Now add a question block by dragging it to the user input. Name the block to find it easily later. We'll just name this one collect info. Now click on the question block and add your first question. First, we want to ask about the username. You can see a few fields that we'll just now explain. The first one is validate response with entity. In this case, we have system entities and you can create your own entities. But for the name one, you can use a system entity that's called any. And that means that anything that the user says will be accepted as their name. So let's choose that one. The next one is save response to attribute. We want to save this attribute as their name, of course. But if you have successfully collected the user's name and saved it to the name attribute, you can use that attribute in the next question to make the conversation sound more natural. But we'll just do that in 1 second. The third field is action on failure input, and you can have 2 options here. You can either go to the success block or go to the failure block. It depends on what you want to achieve. If you want the user to give the proper name, we'll just use go to the failure block. And that means that if the user incorrectly inputs their information, it will keep asking the user to correct it. So let's add another question. In this one, we want to ask about their business email. But first, let's say, for example, thanks. And we'll use the attribute that we saved before. It will be their name attribute. And ask about the email now. We'll want to validate this response with another system entity. That will be an email entity. And we'll want to save this attribute to the email attribute. The action on failure input will leave as it is. So now let's save our changes. Again, add a bot response after the success block by dragging it. You can name this block. You can add a text response or an image to make it more engaging. You can also add GIFs in this response to make the conversation more dynamic. And that's what I'll do in this case. Then add a quick reply that will let you collect information about the user's team size. So let's ask about the team size and let's set up the buttons. The first one will be just me. The second, let's say 2 to 10 people. Another one, 11 to 50. And the last one, 51 to 100. Now save your settings. Then add another user input. You can name it as team. In the user says section, you can add the attribute. In this case, we want to set up an attribute by clicking on the icon and choosing the parameter validation as any, similarly as in the case of the name. That means that anything that the user will type as their team size will be accepted and saved to the attribute that we'll now add. We want to add a custom attribute because we don't have a system one that would contain a team size. So let's call it a team attribute. Click on the add attribute and you can save this user input. Next, add a bot response block to the existing team user input. Here you can add any text responses. We'll simply use the quick reply to ask about the reason for joining the conference. So here I want them to tell me why they want to join the conference, or click the button if they don't want to share the reason. Here we'll simply say no, and the button type will be a send message. Save our settings, save the block. Now add another user input, and let's name it as reason. Similarly as with the previous block, we want to add the attribute by clicking on the icon, and we'll want to choose the parameter validation as any, because anything that the user will type will accept as the reason for joining the conference. In Save to Attribute, we click on that, and we want to add another custom attribute that we'll name reason as well. We'll save that. All right, next, add a bot response block. You can add some images or text responses. Here we want to thank the user in the text response, or just say thank you. And we can also use their name that we previously saved by clicking on the attribute and choosing the name. Let's say, see you at the conference. We can save that. Now, since we've given the user the possibility to say no, because they didn't want to share their reason for joining the conference, we want to use the user input to create a separate path where the user doesn't have to share the reason for joining the conference. We want to edit the name, we'll say that's a no. You can simply add a bot response, and in this one you can simply add a text response and say, no problem, see you at the conference. Now add a close chat action to both of those responses. So when the conversation reaches out this step, the chat will close automatically. Now we need to add the path in case the user doesn't want to sign up for our conference at all. So we will want to add a user input at the beginning of our story. We'll drag the user input to the welcome message. Let's name it as no join. We'll want to edit our user input by adding keywords such as uninterested, no, don't, etc., etc. You can also use the user says section by saying I don't want to join, or no thank you, etc., etc. You can save the block, add a bot response. Here we can say no problem, thanks for checking it out. In this case, we'll also want to add a closed chat section so that the chat is automatically closed after the user responds that they're not interested in joining the conference. Finally, we can set up the default fallback, and this block functions as a trigger point and it can't be edited. Default fallback activates every time when your chatbot can't match user input with any responses. So using fallback, you can display a dedicated message or perform an action that can help the bot recover the conversation when miscommunication happens. So to set the fallback interaction, you need to add a bot response or an action after the fallback section. Here, by default, we've already added a bot response with a few messages that are asking with the random text response to ask the user again to repeat the question or a message. So one more time, what was that? I missed what you said, can you say it again? Etc., etc. In Chatbot, you can also create contextual fallbacks, and they let you create more personalized fallback flows for particular paths. It's important to remember that contextual fallbacks only apply to specific flows. An additional step we can implement here is to add the users to a segment. In Chatbot, segments allow creating custom user lists that can be utilized in marketing campaigns, databases, and more. So let's say we want to add the user to the segment after collecting their information. To do so, you can drag the Add to Segment block to the success block in the question action. Now that we have that, let's click on it. And let's click on the Choose Segment. I already have a conference email list segment created, so I'll click on that. I'll save the block. And here we want to prevent users from signing up twice. In order to do so, we'll want to go to the beginning of our story, and we'll want to use filters for that. Let's drag 2 filters at the beginning of the story. And let's click on the first one. The first path and the filter will be showing a story where the user will sign up because they're new and they want to sign up. Let's click on the Add New filter. We'll choose Segment as our condition. The condition will be that it isn't equal our value, which is the segment that we created previously, which is our conference email list. That means that if someone isn't on the list, they will be shown the path to sign up for the conference list. So let's apply this filter and let's save our block. Let's click on the other block. Let's add a new filter. Choose the same thing, which is a segment. And in this one, we'll want to use the condition equals and the same value, which is the conference email list. That means that if someone is on the list, they will be shown a different path that we'll create in a second. Let's apply filter, let's save the block, and let's add our bot response. In this one, we'll want to use the text response to inform the user that they have already signed up for the list. That's it, basically. We'll save the block. We can also add a close chat action so that the chat is automatically closed for the user that's already signed up. Alright, so your bot is ready and it's time to check how it's doing. You can do it easily by using our Chatbot's testing tool, which is an insight feature that lets you see how your bot will be shown to users. So to start testing, let's click on the Test Your Bot button, and this will trigger the first interaction. So let's see what we have here. Let's say we want to join the conference. Well, we're asked our name, our business email, which is business@business.com. We can see that the GIF we set up is showing up. It's just me and the team size. And our reason will be just reason for joining the conference. As we can see, we went through the story, the chat has ended, and now we'll talk about other testing tool features that we have. So the testing tool was equipped with some nice features that facilitate the testing phase. And one of them lets you follow the story steps on the tree so that you can see which interaction was triggered. You can see that as we went through the story, we saw this line, which helped us see what path the bot took. And if necessary, you can also turn on the debug messages on by clicking on the 3 dots and clicking debug mode. These are system messages that show what actions and interactions are triggered and what attributes are collected, so on, so on. Remember that the debug messages are not visible to end users, and you can see them in the Chatbot archives, which are here on the left. Another useful feature is the typing indicator, which you can also turn on by clicking on the 3 dots, and these are animated dots that appear when the message is being typed. You can define for how long these should be shown when configuring your bot's responses. Here you can also reset the chat to start testing from the beginning. Plus, when your story is complex and you want to verify just one interaction, you can use the Start Chat from Here option, which enables you to test your bot from any place in the story, which saves a lot of time. So let's say we want to check the story from the point of view of a person that has already signed up. So let's click on the filter, right-click it, and click Start Testing from Here. As we can see, we went through the story as someone who has already signed up, and we see the message that they're supposed to be shown. And when you finish testing and decide that your chatbot is ready to connect with users, click the Publish button. You can name the version, but you don't have to, and click Confirm. After that, it's time to connect it with your integration, but this will be described in a separate video. Thank you!